Let's have some fun with the all-new Porsche 911 Turbo S, 650 horsepower and definitely a true supercar, but there's a little bit more to that. Please join us here for exterior, interior and the sporty driving experience on Autogefuehl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Thomas in front of the camera, Jonas behind, and now everything in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front, in general, the all-new 911 generation is 4.5 centimeters or about 2 inches wider. It's also become longer once again, so if you're more thinking of the idea of the original 911, well, that's the 718 Boxster or Cayman now. This one here now, more a grown-up GT. Well, in the 911 Turbo S, I mean, it does look somewhat just like a normal 911 from the front. Of course, the styling in the lower area is a little bit more aggressive, a little bit bolder, but not too much of a change in the front. The color here for today is called the GT Silver, and the typical round headlamps here, they come LED as a standard. Optional, you can get these matrix light and also for better high beam function. And interesting is that the lower spoiler can already be drawn out with a special function, either on demand or it comes automatically together with the rear wing at higher speeds. Then you have less ground clearance, but even more better trimmed, you know, for the whole aerodynamic. It's really impressive, definitely, this function, and looks cool. The length is now at 4.52 meters, 14'8" or 178 inches. And the 911 Turbo S comes with mixed wheels, also available for the other 911 versions, but that means 20-inch in the front and 21-inch at the rear. That's also the setup we have here at the moment. Looks really impressive then, and I think you can really take a look at that from this angle, you know, how the rear tires are bigger than the front ones. Here also with the ceramic brakes. Do you really need them? Yeah, that's also the thing about the whole car. As I said initially, no one needs it, everybody wants it. Of course, they look even more impressive, and it's also quite interesting that the wheels are being, you know, just tidy then. However, Porsche meanwhile also offers this, you know, special coating for the normal brakes that also have the same effect then and are not that expensive. Again, the GT Silver color for today, and very strong shoulder, as we know from 911, air intake for the rear engine concept. This one in here also with all-wheel drive, the 911 Turbo S. It also comes standard in this case, would otherwise be an option for the 911 base models, with the rear axle steering 2 degrees in the opposite direction or in the same direction depending on the speed, where the front wheels makes it more agile at slower speeds and more stable at higher speeds. And this one comes in also in the combination with the PDCC. In this case then it means it's the anti-roll control, so the car is kept even more stable and upright. We're also going to experience that later on while driving. As usual, the difference here for the 911 Turbo or Turbo S, yes, there will also be a normal turbo version without the S later. Here you get this additional wing, which is again more aggressive or more cool looking, and it's also retractable. That's of course even fancier than this case. Other than that, the new 911 generation gets this beautiful light strip that goes all over the width of the vehicle. That looks pretty impressive. Really nice. The Turbo S writing is different from the 911 writing. The 911 writing itself looks a little bit like retro-like. I'm not really sure. I think it doesn't really fit to the rest of the Porsche letterings, or what do you think? And in the lower end, usually the 911 Turbo S would come standard then with rectangular finishing exhaust pipes. This one here is the optional sports exhaust, and that one is even available with a bright or with a dark ring around. However, this is just the rear end, and the real exhaust is then on the inside. When we look on the inside, yeah, that's always a topic we can definitely discuss. One last fact for the suspension before we come to the engine figures. The PASM, this adaptive or active suspension by Porsche, is standard for the 911 Turbo. Turbo S of course as well, and you can pick then if you want to have this one with 10 millimeters lower or not. In this vehicle it is the one that is 10 millimeters lower. Of course, that's the comfort where the sportiness thing. I would rather say go for the more comfortable setup. Now, as for the engine, we can open this servicing compartment for the fluids. The main service is done from below. Here then you can see also the badge 3.8 Turbo S. And yeah, what's the difference here? So the base 911 models come with a 3-liter 6-cylinder, flat engines, boxer motor in German that would be, and either with the Carrera with 385 horsepower or on the S models with 450 horsepower. Here 3.8 liter of displacement, so higher displacement figure, with 650 horsepower in the S model. Acceleration figures to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour is then 2.7 seconds, and to 200 kilometers or 125 miles approximately hours, this one is then 8.9 seconds. So of course, true supercar figures as for that. What do you guys think? The typical front trunk, the trunk can be opened from the inside of the car, driver's door, or pressing the key. This is, by the way, the beautiful slim key right there in the 911 shape here with the strong shoulders and pretty light. Then we have this security opening right there, like this one. And then here we are, 135 liters, and you can see we at the moment have put a backpack first and then another trolley right there. And the height here, yes, that even belongs to a supercar review. Height in the upper part is about 60 centimeters, and in the lower part, this is about 45 centimeters. And the width here is just over 70 centimeters in this front part here. And last figure here, about 40 centimeters. So yeah, some luggage, but of course here in the 911 Coupe you can store a little bit more in the rear. But even in the convertible that is also available as Turbo S, you can use the back bench for even more luggage. New door handles for the 911 generation. Of course, a beautiful integrated design, that's cool. And then when you open the car with the key, they flip out. Or if you don't press it open on the key, it's also possible then, like this, just, touch it barely. And then it's like a sensor, then, you don't have to do it physically, just a little bit. Then they also fold out. And yeah, then they also give you this, I'm not sure. I mean, this haptical feedback is still somewhat a little bit strange. Yeah, so pros and cons about these technology door handles, let's call them that way. Then strong design on the interior, everything wrapped tightly as we know it. Then this carbon fiber insert here. Look at this beautiful integration here, how the buttons for the memory seat are aligned actually with this inside door handle. That's actually pretty cool. Of course, just as we know, slim door pockets. Then we get a special 911 Turbo S entry badge in the lower part. Above that, to open the front and the rear servicing for the fluids. And here we go with the new cockpit for the 911. The interior is not too different for the 911 Turbo S. I mean, we have the carbon fiber inserts here, but you can also get it for the normal models. There we go. The steering wheel is actually pretty slim, or let's say a very compact steering wheel. Also different options available for that. Here also in all black. There's a drive mode selector directly at the steering wheel where you can select the different driving modes easily while driving. That's actually pretty cool. Soon we're going to tell you more about the instruments and also the infotainment. Then as for the seat, there are normal sport seats available that rather go straight like this. These are the Sports Plus seat, so they have this additional shoulder area here. And the good thing is, even for 911 Turbo S, this is the all animal skin spec, which would be standard, but you can get the inside with fabric called Sport Tex at Porsche. And that's of course way to go. They're not all without animals, because the outside parts also do contain some real leather then, but the Sport Tex seats are way to go because they are more sustainable, a little bit more animal friendly, and also they keep cooler in summer and warmer in winter at the same time. So even just for practical reasons. And when we get inside here, you see also maybe that I have lengthened the lower seating area here, because these extended sport seats, they have a little bit more adjustments. For example, for the for the leg area, you can also draw that back again. For example, there it is here. It can be put in depending on if you like taller or smaller. And the same also goes for the lower bolstering and also for the bolstering right here in the rather hip thigh area and so on. And I mean, there are more comfortable cars than the 911. I can I always say it quite a lot of times. It's not the most uncomfortable GT, no, but also there are more comfortable other sports cars, so to say. It depends of course also on your body and how you fit to the sport seats here. But the thing is here, in the supercar segment, the special thing is here, it doesn't feel too different when sitting inside the car. So you could think this is a normal 911, but then it's a 911 Turbo S when you read it, actually. And you can say, oh, when I want to buy such an expensive and so powerful car, I want it to be different and I want it to be super extreme already when I sit in it. Well, that's the approach then, of manufacturers like, McLaren, or even like thinking of Hypercar, Pagani, or whatever, But this is more the approach of being a little more subtle in the basic design and then delivering the power on demand. So different approach, whatever you prefer. Headroom wise, by the way, when I put the seat in the lowest position, I usually put it a little bit up for the better angle. But here in the lowest position with 1.86 or 6'1", there's still a lot of head clearance left. And I mean, not too nice weather today here and pretty cold already again, but I'm already dreaming of the convertible version of this one. Welcome to the interior, guys, and the overview. Here again, this wrapped tightly design by Porsche with the horizontal stress. Very beautiful build quality here also with this carbon fiber tablet to serve food. No, of course, no one ever eats food in this car and not in my cars. Yeah, the no food rule definitely applies here to this car, of course. Soon more details to the screens. Or we can tell you 10.9 inch on the right side, all-wheel touch. On the left side, analog dials, then with 7-inch TFT right and left. Then again, the compact steering wheel can be put in and out and also up and down. We have the shifting pedals right here. This one, of course, only available with the automatic gearbox, and some controls on the steering wheel, for example, also for the volume, or then again for the driving mode, which is a pretty cool idea with the driving mode selector right here. If we more move towards the right side, below the infotainment screen, you have a programmable hotkey. This can be made on demand, whatever you want to have it. Then there's for the exhaust note, for the special valve. Here this metal knurling, this is good quality as well. The hazard lights, then off with the stability control. PDCC, that's the anti-roll or anti-roll control. You can activate or deactivate it. And depending on which driving mode you put in, for example, sport mode activates the exhaust note system. Sports Plus also puts out the spoiler and also activates the PDCC. Then even lower, what I found quite cool actually that we have the AC unit still manual and also nice clicking sounds. So put it warmer, and also the vent strength, for example, and the volume knob, also nice clicking sound. Like to have that manual still. Then this brown shaver design for the shifting lever, this when you're going to commute to work in the morning. But the good thing is nicely integrated with not taking too much space. That's the advantage. And then you put it to reverse or driving mode and so on, part to park. And here also like the quality of the buttons, now when you press it, is really cool. Interesting is that some of the first models actually that I've been seeing with the 911, they had actually some quality issues. Also when, for example, touching the steering wheel, there was like the rattling and squeaking. Now this one here, being the top of the line model, that had nothing to do with it, but just a later build of that. So sometimes it's when you get the first cars from from the works here and there, maybe not totally perfect. Now those things I criticized before seem to be gone. That's actually a good thing. Another good thing is also that we still have physical buttons here for the seat heating in the lower part. So this is then physical button here also in the lower part, easily to access. And here, this cup holder, this is one cup holder, it's adaptive, that's good, so everything is being kept tight. You could also remove that, that's possible. And there it is. So you can also remove it and replace it with something else here from the glove box, and just with this normal holder. Then you can put some clutter in it or something. But I would actually go for the normal cup holder here. That's just more practical, I think. Yeah, you've seen the glove box right there. It's offering some space at least, but not too much. And next to the glove box, you can see there's another cup holder here for the passenger, or for the co-driver, how we always call it. And this better build quality than the same holder in the 718, by the way, in this case then. And last but not least, there is this armrest here in the middle. Open it right there, well attached. And then there are two USB-A chargers below. I got the smartphone plugged in here at the moment. That is not an inductive charging pad here. And you do not have to use the USB for the Apple CarPlay connection, because Apple CarPlay is also available wireless, but no Android Auto. So the main infotainment unit. Here, for example, you can see how when we pick the driving modes, the stuff is changing. Wet mode, by the way, is new with the new 911 generation. That is optimizing the stability control and the throttle input for wet situations on the road. Then with the sport mode, exhaust system gets activated, Sport Plus, also the spoiler, and everything is stiffened up. And individual, you can also plan everything as you like. This is done with the control knob at the steering wheel or when pressing inside, but of course you would never do that while driving. You would always use it on the steering wheel. The climate unit can also be controlled here as for the vents where they should be coming from. This is not a separate button, or deactivate or activate the AC. This has to be done inside the screen actually. Then you can jump to the Apple CarPlay here. This is the integration. Yeah, right there. Here we go. And now testing this optional Bose sound system. Giving us a nice true surround sound indeed, like that. One thing, by the way, about infotainment overkill, I had to actually put everything out and on again, because before that, you maybe also realized the editing there, it wasn't working. So the car was not playing music. The CarPlay showed that it was actually playing it, but you could not turn up the sound. It was like a mute, although it was no mute, So maybe something with the software is not right there, but now it's running again. Just that when that happens with your 911, you're not alone. It happened to someone else before. So, and then the GPS right there. Impressive view, of course. Zooming in and out, very responsive, quite fast CPU. And there you centralize it again. So that's about the infotainment. And what about some voice input? Let's see if that works. No, that's interesting. That's the series being activated then when you use that one. So it really depends on it. Let's see here, voice control.
Please confirm the message.
Okay, accept. Enter destination.
Which city?
Berlin.
Which city from the list?
Berlin, yeah. That's so funny. Okay, but you see, you get the picture. Some voice input does work, but it's no natural voice input yet. Now the instruments, the analog part in the middle. This is of course the impressive, the real important one with the digital speed. And on the left side, you can change what you want to see there actually. This, for example, here for the distance, assistance systems, allowed speed and so on. So that's right there. However, you see that the steering wheel does block the view when you have the straight view. And no matter how you put the steering wheel, it's always blocking something. Yeah. And then you can also switch it to the right side here and then control what you want to see there. For example, the stopwatch or the G-force meter or the all-wheel drive distribution. That's interesting to see or to watch while driving. And this is also the part where you can see more of the modes that are selected, like this. Or, yeah, there it is. Didn't have that close up yet. Here the driving mode selector. That's a good position actually to be able to switch the modes very easily while driving. And last but not least, what's also very interesting here, that's the high fuel consumption here with performance driving. There's a better one also when you are just using cruise control, then you can get it down to like 12 liters or 100 kilometers or something. And here, this is also very interesting that you can get the map already right here. Well, what about this rear bench? Of course, only for emergency situations. There's ISOFIX, however, for child seats, that is possible. And then you can also put some things above here, but it shouldn't be any heavy thing that could fly all over the vehicle, just like light things like toilet paper or something. So here you can, however, flip it and then to, spare the seating material and put a bag up here. And that's okay because the seats are in front of that. So it can fly all over the place. But here on the top part, this should be left only for very light things like, like a shirt or whatever, that can actually fly all over the place and won't hurt anyone. But this is actually a good function that you have like here, this even service done. And again, seats are put up here and then secure also like an additional bag for traveling or something. Well, yeah, you can mark it now, minute, whatever it's at the moment. Thomas in the back seat. Yeah, that's very funny. But the thing is, even if we push the co-driver seat, and I call it co-driver seat, not passenger seat, because rally style, even if we push it all the way to the front, I cannot really put it back here. Only if I, like put my knees to the side. Now it's, fixed here, and yeah, not really possible. And then also, could someone still sit here then on the front seat? Yeah, but you see, this is then the most extreme setup, and I'll try to put myself out here once again. And let's see if I can get to the front seat in any way. This is like how we would step in a supercar with a very strong or very bold pillar here. And yeah. Maybe for a very, very short trip to the train station or something. But yeah, so let's rather forget about this rear bench. Welcome to Thomas's active driving lounge with the Porsche 911 Turbo S. We have to be a little bit careful because the road is wet, so sports mode is the only thing I will do. Sports Plus will be too much actually. We'll start with the acceleration. This one here, all-wheel drive of course, for the 911 Turbo S, and we'll do some of the rolling start just for a minimum amount of safety. And at 30 kilometers an hour, let's go. That's 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour, and yeah, about that. Wow. That was something. When you talk about sports cars and it's like you're getting pushed into the seats, yeah, I think that's what we did experience. So, wow. It would go up to 330 kilometers an hour, by the way, in top speed, but that's just suicide here on this short part of the motorway. But wow, and good noise insulation here also at higher speeds at around 70 kilometers an hour. We have the ceramic brakes mounted here, by the way, so the thing is they have a very good enduring brake performance, but you have to get used to it because the brake pedal here is quite heavy, so to say, especially with the ceramic brakes, so they're not that responsive on soft brake pedal touch, so you really have to hammer them if you need better braking performance. Like on the technology level, they have the best braking performance, yes, but the throttle input, I think they could make it maybe a little bit more sensitive, I think. Wow, that was something. So now we're approaching the tunnel. In the sports mode, also the exhaust sound is getting boosted. 650 horsepower. It's barely enough, right? Couldn't they get more? Yeah, about that. So, Jonas, wanna lower the window a little bit? Whoa, that's something. Yeah, quite a nice sound. I mean, we all know, we can put it up again. We all know the 911 in general is not known for the best sound overall. Other cars are better performing than that one, like a Jaguar F-Type or something, but still, of course, pretty decent. And I mean, especially if you use the shifting pedals and shift down the gear. So here in the sports mode, you've seen in our acceleration, I was waiting for the kickdown of the car itself. But even more spontaneous it is when you use the shifting pedals, which give a very short and crisp feedback. And when you put it down to the second gear or something, it's like the acceleration is just there instantaneously. I mean, the only acceleration I could compare to this is, probably Tesla Model S in the, how's it, insane, ridiculous, lunatic. They have like this different stages of crazy modes. I think it was insane. Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean. Ludicrous. It's a ludicrous mode. Yes, the ludicrous mode indeed. It's just there's no. You feel that you would be moving the car through thin air. That's wow. And the cool thing is, some, let's say, supercars that are just built to be supercars, like the McLarens or something, you feel that you're driving a supercar, and then also with the disadvantages, that you somehow feel a little bit more cramped, a little bit lower, and not at times not so much in control. But the cool thing here about this supercar, and the 911 Turbo S is definitely a supercar, even though it's based on a normal 911, you feel a little bit more in control. You feel driving a little bit more like a normal car, So you could say that's TTS in front of us. You can challenge that there. No, I mean, you could actually say you want it more extreme, also from the base feeling. Then you would need to get a McLaren or something. But here, this car is there to present you both possibilities, to have a normal 911 then for the normal driving and the supercar on demand. And wow, that's, really amazing. Oh, this TTS is really hurrying it. But of course we want to keep it at the speed limit. And then you can also put the cruise control if you like. Just relax again, for example, go back to the normal mode, and then you're all good. And then we'll pass the tunnel again. When we exit the tunnel, we can have one more acceleration out, which also goes in the slight corner. We can also test the stability then. And what's also interesting is when in a sport mode, the PDCC button is not getting activated. I can do that just singularly, and it's only being activated in Sport Plus. Then, by the way, there's also the extended spoiler, and we have less ground clearance. Cars also telling us that. But Sport Plus is really nothing you should use on public roads. So we want to be safe right here. But let me put in the PDCC, which is in this case then the anti-tilt or anti-roll control, which should give us a little bit more stability than here also on the road. So we switch back to the sport mode, and have the PDCC on. Let's see how that one performs right here. And I use the shifting pedals now myself, go back to third gear for example, and then I can accelerate out, and the guys behind us are already awaiting what I'm doing now. Third gear, let's go. Whoa, holy moly. Wow, that's really super stable, wow. I mean, it's like, it's not even a little bit wet, and I mean, this car is hooking to the ground like glue. What the? This is incredible. It's like, I would be feeling, I'm really like, yeah, as I said, I'm absolutely hooked to the ground. 220 kilometers an hour at the moment. So now there's more traffic incoming, so we reduce speed. Always safety first here, of course. Always when we test performance cars. Wow. That's quite something. So when I put that off the PDCC, but I mean, really seems to be like making even more stability right there. So that was quite interesting. Take here and then stick to speed limit once again. Wow. I mean, this is really this, not in a technology sense hybrid, you know, but hybrid in a meta sense. This car can be taken to any racetrack of the world at any time and serve like a GT3 RS or something. And then you switch back to normal mode and it becomes your normal 911 Carrera, you know? This is really what this car makes special. So yeah, really quite impressed. And I think this, you know, this span actually, this is also what they did here with the new generation, that this span is like even wider, you know, basically in both directions of the comfort and sportiness. Again, of course, they are more comfortable cars than the 911, but talking in a supercar sense, you know. So I really feel more at home here than in those uniquely built supercars, because this one is then also like easier and more normal to drive, and I really like that, you know. That's also what you should prefer for everyday driving life. Unless you want it like super aggressive always every time you are on the road. But again, by the driving modes you can have that. And if I would put it in Sports Plus, it would also happen as well. But as we also have the all-wheel drive, this is also something that keeps this car in check, so to say. This would also be, of course, a difference than when you buy a real racetrack Porsche just with rear-wheel drive, to be more extreme that way and to play a little bit more with the rear end. More performance, of course, you will always get here from the all-wheel drive. Oh, police, so you want to join us, guys? Maybe take the police for a ride? Yeah. But I mean, we're not doing anything that is forbidden, because we're always obeying speed limits. That's, of course, very important. Yeah, still, of course, these acceleration tests, please only do harsh accelerations when you really know what you're doing, when you have a lot of experience in car driving and so on, and best, of course, always on a closed circuit, or when you really can see in advance what's happening. That's, again, I can just stress it again, for us it's always safety first. Even with sports car reviews, we always get an, oh, can't you drive any faster, or like can you accelerate out there and so on. And no, because my driver's license is like taxi driver, it's my job, you know, so I intend to keep it. And now you know it from our true sports car episodes, riding up the hill, Pikes Peak. No, not Pikes Peak, but Thomas Peak. I don't know. So let's go up here. And the steering here, wow, it's really so crisp, but not too hard. You see that commands are directly controlled into the road. Everything, oh yeah. So I'm living here, so I'm going back to the normal mode. Exhaust is tuned down. This also gives you the variety of this car. I'll wait until we pass the next house, because, you know, even if someone appreciates nice exhaust notes, probably don't want to have them in your living room or in your garden. So houses are passed. Now back to the sports mode. A little bit more throttle input. Here again, the steering input is almost the same degree as the corner itself. This is really one of the most perfect steering feelings here in this case. This is really amazing. Directly at the throttle, nice acceleration, but very smooth as well. All-wheel drive, giving me a good distribution, but still a rear wheel bias, definitely notable. Now the shifting pedals, back to second gear. Now there will be a very sharp left corner, back even to first gear. Of course, not switching the rear around because with the stability control set, all-wheel drive still giving me some more rear boost that I can get around the corner. A lot of fun to drive this here, and you know, depending on the throttle input, you can really vary between nice and calm driving again and being a little bit more extreme. So I find the setup here for this supercar actually better than with the, you know, separately built supercars. That's what I think, you know, because it's more suitable for, let's say, more situations. But what's your take? And now to some city driving, because one of the features of the Porsche 911 Turbo S is that it doesn't feel too much different to a normal 911 when you are in the normal mode and when you're driving in the city. Again, not saying that the 911 is the everyday driving car overall, you know, it's always less uncomfortable than a non-sports car, you know, that's no wonder. But if you compare the base version to this one, yeah, the suspension is a little bit stiffer. We also have the option here for the minus 10 millimeter PASM in this very vehicle. You should actually leave that out to make it a little bit more suitable for everyday driving life. Then it's even a little bit better, you know, but overall, yes, some bumps in the road, you do feel that. But here you have this combination. On the one hand, you have this supercar. On the other hand, you have somewhat a normal 911 just on demand, actually. And that's actually a thing I find actually most cool about this vehicle. We're in the normal mode at the moment. Exhaust note is also not like, you know, not that notable. And you can drive more or less silent here. And when you want to be a little bit more silent in the city or around your neighbors, always depends on how much you like your neighbors. So you can be silent if you like, and also leave the suspension at the, you know, rather normal and comfortable mode and so on. We can also use the cruise control right here at the left side of the steering wheel. Also the distance can be controlled. It's the adaptive cruise control in here. And so it can also be somewhat relaxing in this vehicle if you like it. Overview, by the way, well, to the rear it's actually not too bad. To the sides, also the B-pillar is quite, you know, far there, so that's no problem. We also have a blind spot monitor. You cannot see it at the moment from this camera because it's, you know, way at the outside of the mirror, but there are like 3 yellow dots then, and they actually flash when someone's in a blind spot, and that's definitely good to have that. So even an upgrade in assistance systems is also very important for this vehicle here, of course. Also the autonomous emergency brake and so on. Definitely crucial to have that also in a Porsche. So that's it about the normal driving here. Again, setting the cruise control. As for the noise insulation here at about 70 kilometers an hour, that's, yeah, like I think 50 miles. I think it's quite reasonable. In the 911 you always get some more of the surrounding, of course. Also, you know, when cobblestones are rotating in the wheel arch, that's also meant to be. That's not the most silent car, that you still get something. But if you compare it to the predecessor, of course, they worked even more on the noise insulation and so on. Problem also with sports cars is that you then hear less engine noise. That's also a reason why so many times sound actuators are being used, that the engine sound is basically enhanced in the interior. But anytime, again, you can use the drive mode selector, put to the sports mode. In this case, also the exhaust note is being activated. I can also put the exhaust note just separately if I want to drive normal, but still want to drive loud. So that's possible. And of course, in city driving, what's always very cool is this rear axle steering with 2 degrees opposite or the same direction than the front wheels. That makes the car so much more agile, is better when parking in and out, and already at lower speeds, this car always tells you like, I'm gonna do another slalom, Thomas. Steer me once more. Yeah, that can be hard at times when you're stuck in city traffic and saying like, come on, I want to drive sporty again. Isn't that possible? Yeah, I think we can definitely live with that. As for the fuel economy, well, if you drive it really, really calm, and I didn't do any special acceleration now in this very part, I can score the official stated consumption, which is somewhat between an 11 and 12 liters on 100 kilometers. Yeah, but I mean, if you use it just a little bit, more realistic would be then something towards 13, even 14 liters, or if you drive higher speed on the motorway. So somewhat the 20 mpg figure, both US and UK somewhat, that is a realistic value. If you push the car more, then of course less than 20 mpg, and if you're really, really good, then you can score even something more than 20 mpg. If it's now the 911 Turbo S or the base 911, I mean, this is a different engine. It has more displacement, yes, but that also means that's generally good for the fuel economy if you keep it at lower speeds. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the 911 Turbo S has a higher fuel consumption than the base models. It just depends on, are you really using this power? So when someone says this is the less economic one, of course money-wise yes, but fuel economy-wise I wouldn't really say so. Maybe you can even score better consumption figures with this one if you keep it at the lower RPMs. But that's of course not really what everyone would do with this vehicle, you know? Yeah. But overall now, when the road is quite even, it's still decently comfortable, no problem. Again, I think the best conclusion here for the normal driving part is, it's still a normal 911, if you like it. But just on demand, it becomes again the supercar we experienced earlier. And now to the conclusion for today with the all-new Porsche 911 Turbo S. Well, in general, they are of course more comfortable cars than a 911, but the cool thing here about the 911 Turbo S is it's one of the most comfortable supercars. And yes, it's definitely a supercar, even though it doesn't have like this typical uniquely built supercar look, but performance-wise and what it delivers is definitely a supercar. Also price-wise, with a fully spec of this one, almost €250,000 or dollars, you know, with some more bells and whistles and so on. Yeah, like you can already get something, you know, at like €210,000 or something, but there's even, you know, a lot of options still left for this one. Exterior-wise, still, I mean, so beautiful with this typical Porsche shapes, and I think it's still somewhat subtle, not too extreme. Some would have wished a more extreme rear wing, for example, but I really like the approach to be a little bit more drawn back, and this is also what this car really stands for. Yes, it has some dramatic sporty elements, but it still can be driven as a normal 911, and then on demand it becomes this screaming out supercar once again. I think that's also what's cool, what they've achieved here with this very generation, that the span between this being normal 911 and being the true supercar is even wider, and everything, you know, into both directions, they have enhanced this feeling. Interior build quality is also very good now. Talked about that earlier, that in some of the very early 911 models had here and there something where say, oh yeah, you really need to tweak that, but that's quite often with all new generations, that the first build cars that are built are maybe, you know, missing something here and there. This one was actually quite good in here today. Yeah, and then remember to get it with a Sport Tech seat for better climate comfortable seating and also making it a little bit more animal friendly. But Porsche is also going in the right direction there finally with, for example, the interior that Taycan is also offering. Well, then the riding, of course, spectacular acceleration, and I was most impressed actually by the feeling how the car is really hooked to the ground, you know. This is like you feel there would be endless traction. That's to me, I think, one of the most impressive feelings again. Yeah, and then this compromise between sportiness and comfort. Of course, the 911 has a little bit stiffer setup here in the Turbo S version, yes. But still, for a supercar again in this segment, this was definitely very impressive. Well, interesting impressions here today with our supercar review from the 911. Please also tune in to the other 911 episodes. We've been on a racetrack, for example, with the S versions. Brian took out the convertible as well, and we'll all link them down in the video description and in the pinned comment. So I would say, see you there or at one of our all-new reviews of all new cars. Thank you so much for tuning in and stay healthy. Wish you all the best. See you soon.